Hi everybody, it's me, Scott Hards, back with another Boss Build segment. Of course, we're still working on our Tamiya Lexus LFA. We've got the engine, the drivetrain, the suspension, and all of that is all complete. But now we're getting into some parts of the kit where we're going to have to work with decals, or we're going to have to mask things before painting them. Now, since the LFA that we're building isn't a competition car, it's not covered with gaudy markings or anything, or big sponsor logos, so the decals are pretty easy affair. Just this one little sheet that we've got here. So if you've never worked with decals before, something this easy is going to be a great confidence builder for you. Now, we've also got to do some masking. We're going to take a look at how we do that. Now, on this kit, it's also going to be pretty easy. We have to mask some of these clear parts here, the windows and stuff, and Tamiya has thoughtfully provided us with what they call masking seals, which are like masking tape stickers that you can use for doing that. And we'll show you how to work with that too. Let's start out with the decals. Let's take a look at what you'll want to have handy. First is a small dish of lukewarm water. Forgive the appearance of my veteran modeling bowl here, but that is clean water. Second, your trusty hobby knife. Third, and very important, is a good pair of tweezers, preferably with pointy tips. For fixing the decals, you'll want plenty of cotton swabs, and it's never a bad idea to have some tissues handy too. When you select some tweezers, try to get a pair that has very narrow, almost needle-like tips. These tiny tips are very useful for pushing decals around to where you need them, and for peeling off masking tape, as we'll see later. For $10 to $20, you can get a really nice set that will last you forever. Just like the painting instructions we looked at in our previous segment, the assembly guide for the kit will clearly show you what decals are supposed to go in what location. You don't want to make a mistake, because once a decal is fixed into position, there's no way to take it off and reuse it. Start the process by cutting the decal you need from the sheet. Decal sheets are not perforated, so you need to cut them yourself with a hobby knife. When cutting larger decals, scissors may also be an option. If you look closely, you'll see that every decal has a thin, transparent border around it. Try to cut as close to the decal as you can when removing it from the sheet, and, if possible, trim away as much of that clear border as you can. For a tiny little decal like this, hold it with your tweezers and dunk it in the bowl of lukewarm water for 20 to 30 seconds. Then remove the decal from the water. As long as the decal stays on the backing paper, there's no hurry at this point. After double-checking the location, bring the decal into position and gently slide it off the backing paper onto the spot on the model where you need it. Besides their excellent final appearance, one of the great things about decals is that you can freely reposition them while they're still wet. The decal here stuck to the model a little bit too low, so I just put a drop of water on it with my finger and then reposition it to exactly where I need it. Once you're happy with the location of the decal, use a cotton swab to gently absorb the excess water and lock the decal into position. If you need to reposition it again, just drop more water on it another time. When you're completely satisfied with the position, gently press down on the decal by rolling over it with a cotton swab, being careful to only apply pressure straight down. Now let's take a look at masking with pre-cut masking seals. Once again, the instructions will clearly show you where the masking seals need to be applied, so make sure you understand where to put them before you start. To avoid weakening the adhesive, I recommend that you don't handle the seals with your fingers, but instead rely on your trusty tweezers. Just gently pull the seal from the backing and move it into the position you need on the model. While it's hard to see in the video here, the clear parts have very fine lines marked on them showing where the seals should go, so positioning them correctly is actually pretty easy. Once you're happy with the position, use your fingers to press the seals down nice and hard. This is very important. If your mask isn't seated firmly on the surface it's protecting, the paint may wrap around the edges and get under the seals or the tape. And the sad part is that it's nearly impossible to fix a paint job on a clear plastic part if you mess it up. So don't spare the pressure. Make sure those seals are down firmly. Applying the larger masks is done pretty much the same way, but if you can't support them with just your tweezers, go ahead and use your fingers to help position them properly. And again, don't spare the pressure when rubbing it down into position. Since clear parts are hard to fix, I didn't want to risk any mistakes, so I also decided to protect the back of the parts from any stray paint by covering it with this very large masking tape. You can find extra wide tape like this in the paint department of a well-stocked DIY or hardware store. Note that I also masked off the side windows too to keep the border between the painted and unpainted areas nice and straight. When you're done, it's just a matter of painting the exposed areas. Of course, you can check back to the second video in our Boss Builds LFA series for tips on how to use paints. The instructions in the LFA kit call for semi-gloss black here, but since you're going to be seeing the color through the clear part, it's going to look glossy anyway, so you can get away with using just about any type of black paint. Make sure that the paint is completely and thoroughly dried before you start peeling the masking seals and tape back off your model. If the paint's not quite dry, it could smear or crack at the edges of the masks, and if that happens, I guarantee you will not be happy. Depending on how heavily you've painted, you might find that the paint has effectively glued the edges of the masks to the model. Once again, the pointy tips of your nice set of tweezers will help out greatly if that happens. Once all the tape is off, you'll probably want to remove any tape residue or fingerprints from the part with a soft cloth before you install it on the model. While we're at it, let's test and see how it looks. I'm happy. Thanks for watching. In our next session, we'll take a look at some tips for working with photo-etched metal detail parts. See you then!